Hey everybody, welcome back to Prescription Bourbon. Today we've got a great interstate bourbon budget battle. We've got Virginia Gentleman versus Kentucky Gentleman. Two great bourbons. We'll taste them and see which one stands out. I've got these poured already. I'm going to move these bottles out of the way. Bring my glasses up front. This is going to be a blind today in this bourbon battle. I put them in my black Glencairns here, so I don't know which one's which. Just giving them a real quick nose. We call this one on the left here, glass A. It definitely has a lighter, sweeter smell to it, a little more corn forward, I think. And glass B has a darker note to it with a little fruit there also. So definitely different noses. So let me go through, give it a little history. A little bit of controversy surrounds both these brands and a lot of history. So starting with the Kentucky Gentleman. This was founded in 1879 by Thomas Moore. He started what is now the Bourbon distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky. So him and his partner were both associated with the Willett family, the Willett distillery, and they went off on their own and started their own distillery. And in fact, the brand Kentucky Gentleman is really named after Thomas Moore. So he was considered the Kentucky Gentleman. So the brand's been through a lot, always been associated with that distillery. But sometime in the 1970s, most likely, they did start adding some neutral grain spirits to it. So for years, it said Kentucky bourbon with natural grain spirits, which is sad. There's a lot of other brands on the market, though. I'll show you some here. You know, things like Beam 8 Star, Ancient Age has one. So there's other brands out there that are budget, low, bottom shelf bourbons that are, have neutral grain spirits added. But anyways, one thing that they did do right in 2022, they actually stopped adding the neutral grain spirits. But very odd move, they went to adding natural flavors. So now Kentucky Gentleman is listed as Kentucky bourbon whiskey with natural flavors. I almost think I'd rather have the neutral grain spirits because at least then you know what's in there. Natural flavors. What the hell is that? It could be anything. It kind of reminds me of the Bourbon Act from 1897 that they made that act so that people could not add stuff to the whiskey and you knew what you're getting. And here is Barton's making Kentucky Gentleman now with Kentucky bourbon with added natural flavors. So, all right. I'll get around to the Virginia Gentleman history also. But let's go in and give these a taste. Glass A. Cheers. All right, that is sweet on the palate, just like it is on the nose. There's a little bit of spice on the back end. It's very easy going down. Both of these are 80 proof, by the way, so they're both 80 proof bourbons. But this one, it's not the thinnest mouthfeel in the world, but it is a thin mouthfeel. It's sweet up front, has some cinnamon spice on the tail end, and the cinnamon spice lingers for a bit, so it's not a bad sip. I said budget bourbon battle. Both of these bottles are under $15, probably anywhere. I think under $10 in places. So the Kentucky Gentleman is easy for me to find here in Kentucky. Virginia Gentleman, I know I've seen it around, but when I went looking for it for this battle, I couldn't find any here in Kentucky, and I wasn't doing any traveling. So I actually had a friend of mine pick this up for me. Thank you, Vadim. And he picked this up for me in Indiana, and so I have it now to taste along. We'll see what happens here. So, Class B, cheers. Okay, it has some sweet too, not as sweet as A, and some darker notes there, just like on the nose. I am getting a hint of oak there, very, very, very subtle oak, but so it's not just the sweetness. Not as spicy though either, so definitely a nice, easy sipper. So both of these are as you would expect. So, all right, taste these again and try to rank them in a minute. But real quick, Virginia Gentleman. So this brand was started right after Prohibition, is when the distillery opened. This is distributed by what is now the A. Smiith Bowman Distillery, and it was founded in Fairfax County, Virginia. In 1988, they moved the distillery to right near Fredericksburg, Virginia, where it's still located. And when they did that, they stopped doing their own mash bill and doing their own initial distilling. They actually made an agreement with Ancient Age Distillery in Frankfort, Kentucky, which is now Buffalo Trace, to distill their whiskey for them. So they get their initial distillate from what's now Buffalo Trace, and they redistill it in Virginia. They've got a pot still there. They redistill it in a pot still and barrel it and age it in Virginia, bottle it in Virginia. It is listed as a straight bourbon whiskey, so from Virginia. Unlike Kentucky Gentleman is not listed as a straight bourbon whiskey because it's got added stuff, so it's just a bourbon whiskey with natural flavors added. So, but anyways, this brand, the controversy here is the logo on the front. It's basically what looks like a plantation type setting. The logo, the motto across the label used to be the aristocrat of them all. They've dropped that. And also the initial picture used to have what some people thought looked like plantation owners and a slave on the front. So that's been dropped. There's nothing like that on there. And now the only logo on here, on the neck here, says the Bourbon of Virginia. So they do have I don't know if they still make it, but they do have a 90 proof version of this, or at least they have. And it has a different logo. It actually has what looks like a fox hunt. So it has like hound dogs on it, kind of a fox hunt situation, which, so you've got the plantation picture on this one, and you have the fox hunt on the 90 proofer. But there's the quick history of those. A little bit more here, though. Actually, both of these are now Sazerac products. So Sazerac owns both these brands, and Sazerac, famously bought what's now Buffalo Trace in 1998, renamed Ancient Age Distillery to Buffalo Trace, traded that brand, who's making the distillate for the Virginia Gentleman, and they bought the A. Smiith Bowman Distillery in 2003, followed up by buying the Barton Distillery, which was previously the Tom Moore Distillery, in 2008. So between 1998 and 2008, they bought all this up. So it's all Sazerac brands now. All right, let's go in and give it another quick final sip and taste and give you my rankings. So. Yeah, nice sip of bourbon right there. Like I said, it's got the sweetness, got a little spice. Same results. A little spice on the back end. A little bit of a mouthfeel to it, not a whole lot, but it's there. And Class B. It's a very nice sip also. This one is thinner. It's, so no mouthfeel. Sweet, a little bit of oak. This one doesn't have. It could be a buildup of drinking all this now, but I do get some spice on the very, very, very end of this guy. And it's a very nice sip, but I'm going to go with A as the better sip today. The noses are a toss-up. Pros and cons of them both. But just the sipping experience wins out for A. It's nice. Alright, let's see which one this is that wins out. And this is the Kentucky Gentleman. Surprise to me, actually. I've been sipping both these bottles for a few weeks. You can see I've drank more of the Virginia Gentleman. And not done them blind or up against each other whatsoever so far. And this was not truly blind, so I knew what was in these glasses. I just didn't know which one was which, so I may have made some assumptions. And I was actually thinking that the nose on this was leaning towards a pot still and a Virginia, but was thinking Virginia was going to win, but I'm actually surprised that the Kentucky wins. Yeah, both great sips. Both, let's call them $12 bottles. Can't go wrong with either one. But if you see one or the other, give it a try. I really do wish Barton would just drop this natural flavor crap and just go with straight bourbon whiskey. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't, but can't go wrong with either one. All right, remember everybody, all bourbon is whiskey, but all whiskey is not bourbon. Best bourbon comes from Kentucky. Cheers.